Hello, everybody. Welcome to the lunch table. My name's Evan, and today I'm joined by Nick and Zach. And today we have a Super Bowl preview episode for you guys, given our predictions and everything for the Super Bowl, and also talking about a little bit more. But before we begin, make sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at lunchtable.takes. And yeah, we'll get straight into it. The Super Bowl is this upcoming Sunday. It is between the Chiefs and the Eagles. Quick rundown of how both teams got there. The Chiefs beat the Bengals in a close game in the AFC Championship by 3. It was a very, very good game and had its controversy, obviously, but they ended up winning that game with Mahomes playing on basically one leg. Mahomes had an amazing game, and they deserved the spot to be in the Super Bowl. And then for the Eagles side of things, theirs was a little bit anticlimactic. They played the 49ers in the NFC Championship, and in the first quarter, Brock Purdy ended up tearing his UCL, and then shortly after, Josh Johnson got a concussion, and so then Purdy had to go back out on the field when he couldn't throw, so it was fairly easy for the Eagles to come away with a win on that one. So, Zach, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on this year's Super Bowl?
Well, I think that, they're the two best teams in the NFL, I would say, by far and away. And I think, like them being, it's the 1 seed versus the 1 seed, which, that's kind of like, I don't know. But, they deserve that. And I think the 49ers, they're not the Niners, the Eagles have really impressed me just by how they've completely blown out both of their playoff opponents. I was not expecting that at all. I think I've been a little too down on the Eagles. Because, I've said, like, they are really good, but they aren't, their schedule's been super weak. So once they play an AFC team, then they might get humbled, but I think that I've been a little too down on them. They are a really good team, and they've shown that against the Giants and the 49ers. Now, I do think with the 49ers that everything that could possibly go wrong for the 49ers went wrong. So I think the 49ers really didn't have a chance in that game from the opening snap. I think that, like I said, pretty much everything that you can imagine that would go wrong went wrong for them. So it's kind of, just kind of sucks for them. But, the Eagles did still play a good game. And they are very impressive. Javon Hargrave he's nasty. He's a stud. So the Eagles are coming in with all 4 of their defensive linemen having at least seven or more sacks, which is like unheard of. Javon Hargrave has 14, I think. So, he's having quite a year. Or no, wait, hold on. That was not Javon Hargrave. That was
Haason Reddick.
Yes. Reddick. He has 16. That's what that was. That's what I meant. He's having quite a year. And then the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, playing on a one leg. It was an impressive game for the Chiefs. I do think that there was quite a lot of controversial calls in that game, and calls that I think could have swayed the outcome of the game. So, yeah, probably some of the worst officiating that I've ever seen. But the Chiefs did still deserve the win, though. Patrick Mahomes played a really good game. Chris Jones is having a career year. So, to me, it's kind of the same thing the Bengals ran into last year in the playoffs, where they came up against a guy on the defensive line that's having a career year, and them having a poor offensive line, not being able to do anything about it. So kind of the same story there. But, I think I think it'll be a good game. It'll be a good one.
Yeah, you covered all of it. These are the 2 best teams in the league. They've been the 2 best teams in the league for the better part of 3-4 months now. And like you said, the Eagles, you can say what you want about them having an easy schedule and their path being really easy, but they've earned that path. They have been far and away the best team, arguably in football, since really like October, if we're being full on honest with ourselves. But the biggest concern for me with the Eagles going into the playoff, which is why I had them losing, was I didn't know how healthy Jalen Hurts' shoulder was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And it is just fine. I if you've watched the games, it's just fine. They are A-okay. The Eagles are in an all-in push. Their team is just loaded from top to bottom. And like you said, their defensive line, I think they had the 4th most sacks in NFL history by a team going into this postseason, and they've just dominated ever since then. The Niners in that game got hosed. I mean, that's just bad luck all around. But even if Brock Purdy played the whole game, I don't think that they beat the Eagles on that day. They were flying on all accounts from top to bottom. Offense, defense, special teams. Like, I don't know if anyone could have topped that.
I forgot to mention in that game too that like you said, even if Brock Purdy did play, it still would have been hard because the Eagles just completely dominated both sides of the trench.
I still think the Eagles win that game comfortably. And the Niners the Niners played so undisciplined, especially on defense. I don't think it would have mattered.
Yeah. Offensive and defensive line just got completely dominated by the Eagles. I mean, they couldn't do anything.
From the opening drive, which Devontae Smith catch, it wasn't a catch, but still. It didn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. And then on the other side, the Chiefs-Bengals game, you all know my thoughts on the officiating in that game. The officiating was terrible, but most of the calls in the end didn't even matter. Right. The bottom line is you let Patrick Mahomes drive on them with one leg with like 40 seconds left, and then Joseph Asai obviously shoved Mahomes out of bounds. Which, if he wasn't a rookie, I would understand people like getting on him a lot more for it. But like, he's a rookie. That play is going to haunt him for the rest of his life.
I wasn't even mad about that play because honestly, in the grand scheme of things, like, he should not even have been in that position to make that play happen.
He was their best defensive player the whole game.
Yeah, and like if Joe Burrow and the offense has the ball with 2 minutes left, if they drive down the field and score, I mean that play is
essentially game over.
Like that's the end of the game. So like the Bengals, I mean it was really disappointing for me seeing that Burrow had the ball with 2 minutes left in the game, tie game. Like he and the Bengals had the opportunity to drive down the field, score, ice the game, and they couldn't get it done.
Yeah,
that was what was really disappointing for me.
This isn't. It's not about the Bengals though. It's another podcast for another day.
Yeah.
But the Chiefs, like Patrick Mahomes, going into this year, lost arguably his best weapon offensively, and is still gonna win MVP.
Yeah,
that's kind of insane to think about, and we'll talk about later about Mahomes' legacy. But I mean, he just put on a masterclass.
He's making a name for himself.
Mahomes on one leg is the second best quarterback in the league, behind Patrick Mahomes. And it's just, I don't know if we've ever seen anything like this in the NFL. And Patrick Mahomes, like, I would say, we're going to get to this later, but I would say on paper the Eagles have a better team. But Patrick Mahomes gives you a chance in any game.
Yeah.
And Andy Reid will scheme something up to keep them in that for 4 quarters. But I mean, it was special to see what Mahomes did last Sunday. And yeah, I mean, these are the 2 best teams in football. You kind of covered it. And yeah, Kelsey brothers going at it. I'm sure. Did you guys know that they're brothers? I don't know if you knew that. Yeah, they have a podcast together too.
They do have a podcast.
Yeah, I don't know if you all knew that or not, but
the New Heights podcast, I think is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really excited. I think it's going to be a great game. And yeah, about all I got to say for that.
Yeah, it'll definitely be a good one. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
And there's a lot of like cool storylines too, with like, you know, the Kelsey brothers facing off.
Andy Reid going up against his former team.
Yep, Andy Reid. And this
Sirianni used to be with the Chiefs too when Andy Reid was there.
Yep. And this being the first time that two black quarterbacks have faced off
Yeah,
in the Super Bowl.
that's awesome.
Yeah. So
I
there's
was surprised by that. Like,
yeah,
Yeah.
I was too, honestly.
but
But yeah, there's a lot of really cool storylines for this game for sure.
Yeah.
the script rating's off the charts.
Yeah.
Yep.
NFL script writers back at it again.
Yep.
But yeah, to kind of touch on what both of you guys said, I'll start with the Eagles. For me, obviously they were at an advantage that game because Brock Purdy was hurt,
Mhm.
and that obviously helped them a lot. But I feel like their front four was just outplayed the Niners offensive line. Hassan Reddick was wreaking havoc out there. I think he finished with, I think it was 3 sacks.
I think he had 2 sacks in like the first quarter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and a forced fumble.
Yeah.
His first half was insane.
Yeah, he was a monster. And so I think that was the big catalyst why they ended up winning. And then also, Nick, you touched on it, how Jalen Hurts basically looks pretty fine with the shoulder injury. I don't know if it's like with the update on how that's looking, but he doesn't. It doesn't seem to be bothering him that much. Like on that throw to Devontae Smith, like he put enough air under it to
Yeah.
where Smith can make a play. And even though like he did technically drop it, it was still placed in a spot where only his guy could catch it. And then I think for the Eagles, like a lot of people looking at this game, they were wondering why it wasn't, because obviously it was one-sided, but it didn't feel like as like some people that I like saw, they said that the Eagles basically just like stopped trying like towards the end of the game, and they kind of got conservative with stuff. And I think the reason why is because they didn't want to like kind of push Hurts too much once they had
Yeah.
the kind of already in the bag. They didn't want to like push him too much. So, but I think like both of you said, I think the Eagles are definitely the best team in the NFC. I think if Brock Purdy was fully healthy, I think the outcome might be different just because of how they had been on a roll. But I do think that the Eagles are the most complete team in the NFC. And I think Jalen Hurts he's having an MVP caliber season. Him and AJ Brown have been great. Hassan Reddick and that defense has stepped up. That secondary is one of the best, if not the best, in the league currently. So I think the Eagles definitely deserve to be here, and I think it's going to be a really good test for Mahomes because obviously Mahomes is a playmaker, improviser. He can do stuff with the ball that you don't normally see, and I feel like for him, the only way that you can really contain that is if you have a good secondary, and I think the Eagles have that. So I think that's going to come into advantage for them.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. But on the Chiefs side of things, obviously as a Bengals fan, it was tough to watch that last 2 minutes. I'm with you, Zach. I was disappointed that they had a chance and really couldn't do much with it. But in my eyes, I didn't feel the Bengals did deserve to win that game. I didn't feel like they did enough to warrant them to win. So I felt like the Chiefs played really well. Who is their defense coordinator? Is that Spagnuolo? Is his name?
Yeah, it's Spagnuolo.
Yeah, he put together a great defensive game plan. Chris Jones finally came alive. He got his first sack in playoff history, which I was surprised by, but nonetheless. And then Mahomes. I mean, there's not much you can really say about his performance. I mean, one leg, he threw for almost 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. Like, just it didn't even look like he was skipping a beat, which is a test to his.
He had a day.
Yeah, and I think one thing I am concerned about for the Chiefs is they got really banged up in that Bengals game. They lost a lot of key guys in the secondary. L'Jarius Sneed got hurt, and then a couple of other guys. I think at one point they were starting 8 rookies. They had 8 rookies playing on the defense. And then their wide receiver room basically got cut in half. Mecole Hardman was hurt. Kadarius Toney got hurt. But as it looks right now, I think the only person that's not playing in in the Super Bowl is Hardman. So I think everybody should be okay. But that will be something to monitor to see who's actually on the field for the Chiefs after they kind of got a little banged up. But I feel like this is like a legacy game for Mahomes. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, like last the AFC Championship was 100% a game that's going to be looked back as one of the best he's played in his career, and the storyline to see him losing his best receiver, coming back, having an MVP caliber season, leading his team to the Super Bowl is a phenomenal story in its own. And I think it's going to be a really close, really good game because
Mhm.
it's really one of the more high-powered offenses against one of the better defenses. So it kind of all adds up. But I'm excited to see what happens, and I think it'll be a good game.
Yeah, the Eagles definitely have quite a high-powered offense as well. I mean, I think on paper the Eagles are the better team because they're just more complete. But I mean,
I agree.
it's just Mahomes and Kelsey, and Andy Reid. I mean, you can't.
They'll find some way to get their offense rolling.
Yeah,
Their O-line is significantly improved from when they played Tampa Bay. I promise you, they'll find something to get going.
Yeah, the Chiefs are also a pretty complete team too. I mean, they're Chris Jones, and yeah, you got to credit like Steve Spagnuolo with the Bengals game, pretty much just neutralizing the Bengals offense, and that is something that they have not done the past 3 times the Bengals have played them. So, like, completely neutralizing one of the best and most explosive offenses in the NFL, that's something. There's something to be said about that. And I don't see any reason to say that they couldn't do that against the Eagles too,
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's going to be a great game, though. It's going to be decided within a couple of points, I would say.
I hope so. I want it to be a good game.
Yeah,
I think it will be. I don't think this game's going to disappoint.
No, I don't think it will either. I don't think the Eagles are going to roll through them like they've been just blowing everybody out in the playoffs. I don't think they're going to do that again.
They're playing a much better quarterback. They're not playing Daniel Jones or Christian McCaffrey, literally, at quarterback anymore.
Yeah, they're playing the best quarterback in the league, with probably the best tight end of all time. So, I mean,
that's a bold take.
Is it?
I don't know if I agree with that. I think that's another story for another day. But
yeah,
I don't know if I agree with that.
It's a conversation too.
It is a
I
conversation.
don't know if I would necessarily say that's a bold take.
I don't know. It's a conversation, though. Yeah. I won't deny that. Kelsey's put himself in there. But I don't know. I don't know.
A song for another time, if you will.
So, who do you guys think is going to be like an X factor for like in the Super Bowl? Like, who do you think? Not necessarily like who's going to win like the MVP, but like who do you think is going to be a main reason why their team ends up winning?
For me, I would say it'd be Frank Clark on Kansas City because everyone knows about Chris Jones and and George Karlaftis having a great rookie season, but Frank Clark's been kind of disappointing. Okay, and I get that you can say all you want about the Chiefs' defensive line. They were going up against a makeshift Bengals offensive line, right? Them getting pressure on Burrow, especially in that first half, is not really a surprise. They're playing an Eagles team that has the best offensive line in football by a wide margin. And I think if the Chiefs are going to have a realistic shot of pulling this game out, they're going to have to get pressure on Jalen Hurts, which is already going to be difficult because of his legs and the fact that the Eagles are kind of a run-first team.
Yeah.
But they're going to put 2 guys on Chris Jones maybe the whole game. And I'm confident in like whoever they line up on Karlaftis to handle their own one-on-one. So for me, it's up to Frank Clark, who in the past has been an all-pro level defensive end, to kind of catch some of that magic again.
Yeah. For me, I would probably say, I think on the Eagles, I would probably go with Hassan Reddick. I think he's going to be the Eagles' X factor because I mean, if he can get pressure on Mahomes and kind of because I don't know if Mahomes is like completely 100% yet because like I mean if that really was a high ankle sprain, I have a hard time believing that he's like already back to like 100%.
Yeah, that ankle still isn't at 100%.
Yeah,
even though he's had 2 weeks off.
Yeah, so
he said that he's feeling a lot better than when he did 2 weeks prior, and he said, once he gets adrenaline and like the game starts, he said he should be fine. He said he can obviously like he'll be able to move a little bit better, but he's still not 100%. I think he's probably more like 85, maybe 90%. So
yeah, I think if Hassan Reddick can get pressure on him, I think that their defense is going to be in pretty good shape because they have probably the best secondary in the NFL. So get pressure on him, pull those guys off into the secondary, into coverage. I think that puts them in a pretty good spot defensively. So I would say for the Eagles, Hassan Reddick. But I mean, for the Chiefs, like I defensively, I agree with Frank Clark, but like all in all, it's got to be Mahomes. I mean, it's got to be that guy. I mean, like he's the guy that can just take over the game single-handedly and win them the game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much what he did against the Bengals. So, I mean, it's Mahomes for me. He's the X factor for the Chiefs.
Yeah. For me, I'm going to go with 2 Chiefs players. First, I feel like on the defensive side, I think Trent McDuffie, I think he's going to have to play a big game because he's going to be, depending on if L'Jarius Sneed's playing, I'm not sure how he's looking right now, but he's probably going to be tasked to be guarding Devontae Smith and or A.J. Brown. And as a rookie, he's been one of the better corners in this rookie class, and he played well against the Bengals, who obviously have a very high-powered receiving core. And I think if he can have another big game and kind of slow down Smith or Brown, whoever he ends up being matched up against, I think that's going to help the Chiefs tremendously. And then
And
I think if he did well against the Bengals, I think he's in good shape.
Yeah, the Eagles. I wouldn't say the Eagles have better receivers than the Bengals. It might be on par, but it's a similar receiving core. Like you said about L'Jarius Sneed, he did clear concussion protocol, so he will be playing. So that's big for their secondary.
That's huge.
Yeah,
that is big. And for my offense, on the offensive side, I think Isaiah Pacheco is going to have a big game because I feel like with one of the holes in this Eagles defense is their run defense. The run defense has not been great. So if the Chiefs can have a more balanced offense and get Pacheco going early, I think that's going to help them a lot, being able to kind of open up the passing game for Kelce, and then you can even go into help with Mahomes running as well. So I think Isaiah Pacheco, if he can have like another like 70-80 yard game, maybe throwing a touchdown, I think that'll be
huge for them.
Huge for the Chiefs to be able to overcome this really good defense. And I think he's going to play a really big part in why.
Yeah.
Because the 2 players that I said are both rookies for the Chiefs. So
yeah, I think also if the Chiefs can get the ground game going with Isaiah Pacheco, if they can get him rolling and they get the ground game going well, I think that would also help somewhat neutralize, maybe not neutralize, but somewhat help with the Hassan Reddick on the defensive side. Because if they can run the ball well, it'll kind of take away that like pass rushing pressure that Hassan Haskins can cause. So I think getting the run game going for the Chiefs is going to be huge for sure with Isaiah Pacheco.
I think the Chiefs also activated Edwards-Helaire off IR.
I didn't see that.
So he will be back. He's not going to be the feature back because Pacheco's been playing
Pacheco's
very well.
going to be the guy.
Yeah, Pacheco will still be the guy. But, yeah, if they can keep Hassan Reddick out of the backfield by just getting any sort of a run game going.
Yeah.
That's kind of been the Chiefs' weakness, was their lack of a run game. If they can get that going and keep Hassan Reddick disciplined, per se, I think that'll help a lot in terms of that, and also just keeping the Eagles off the field.
Yeah. That'll definitely be a tremendous help. But I think on the Eagles side of the ball, I think you're trying to keep the Chiefs off the field.
Yeah, I think the Eagles are going to do that anyways. The Eagles do that with every team that they play.
Because they have such a good run game.
Yeah.
So they can slow down the game. They can eat the clock up. And I think against the Chiefs, that's exactly what you want to do. Because the less amount of time Patrick Mahomes is on the field, the
better chance you have of winning.
Exactly.
100% agree.
The more he's on the field, your chances of winning just keep going down and down.
Is it a coincidence? Yeah, it is. He's that good.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So let's do some predictions. Final prediction of the year. Zach, I'll start with you.
Start with me.
Super Bowl prediction, and then just a little reason why. And
Super Bowl prediction and MVP.
If you want to.
Let's go with MVP. All right. So my prediction, I have it being a high scoring affair. The last time the Eagles were in the Super Bowl against the Patriots, the final was like what,
41 to 33.
Yeah, so it was a high scoring game. So I have it being another high scoring game. I am going to give the game to the Chiefs, though. I have predicted the AFC playoffs with 100% accuracy.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Have you actually?
He has.
Wow,
I have picked
I went back on that the other day.
I have picked the AFC playoffs with 100% accuracy, and I'm not stopping now. I said going into the playoffs that this is the year the Chiefs do it again, and I am going to stick with that. So I have the Chiefs winning 37 to 34. 3-point game. Chiefs win. And honestly, I can't really give much reason except for the fact that, like I said earlier, I think Mahomes is the X factor. I just think Mahomes is one of the greats, and I think he's going to pull it off. And I could easily see Frank Clark or Chris Jones stepping up in a big moment, as he did last week against the Bengals. So yeah, I got Chiefs. This is the year the Chiefs. This is their year. This is the year they do it again. So I got them 37 to 34. MVP, Mahomes.
Yeah, that's fair. I said before the playoffs that the quarterback is the most important position on the team, but it is not more important than the rest of the team. And I think that the rest of the Eagles team is just, I don't want to say significantly better, but their wide receiver core, their offensive line, their wide receiver core is significantly better. Their running backs, I know Pacheco's been balling, but their running backs are significantly better. I think their defense is better. Their O-line is better. And Jalen Hurts is not a slouch at quarterback at all.
Yeah.
And I said, as far as my X factor, that if the Chiefs want a realistic shot of winning, they're going to have to get pressure on Jalen Hurts by any way they can. And I don't think that that's going to happen for a full 60 minutes. I'm confident in the Eagles being able to run the ball for a lot of the game, milk some time off the clock, keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. And their defensive line, although the Chiefs O-line is good, I'd say they're a top 5 O-line in the league this year. They're coming up against a fantastic pass rush. And for that reason, I'll take the Eagles to win. I'll go 34-24.
Wow.
I think it'll be a lot closer than the final score will indicate. I think the Eagles will score a touchdown with about 2 minutes left to just kind of put the game away. And Super Bowl MVP, I'll go with AJ Brown for my Super Bowl MVP. I don't know how confident I am in L'Jarius Sneed or Trent McDuffie. Just keeping him under wraps for a lot of the game. It might be very similar to what Cooper Kupp did last year.
Yeah.
And Nick Sirianni, I mean, he's a former Colts coordinator. I've seen him work wonders with offenses. That's why the Eagles hired him. I'm confident in him coming up with a great game plan offensively for that Eagles team to just get it rolling. And yeah, I think the Eagles have been the best team in football all year. And they've slaughtered both the teams they've played in the playoffs. I think it's just too much riding in Philadelphia's favor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this one's tough for me because I feel like both teams are great, and it can go either way. But for me, I'm gonna have the Chiefs winning 27-21. I have it being a little bit of a lower scoring game, but close. I just think Patrick Mahomes is just. I think he's gonna carry like he did against the Bengals, and I think. I think that their defense is going to make enough plays to kind of slow the Eagles down a little bit. I think Chris Jones will have another solid day. I don't think he's gonna. I think he'll probably have like maybe one sack, but I think he can get a good amount of pressures in there. But yeah, I think it's going to be a really close game. But I'm going to give the edge to the Chiefs just because I feel like they are a little bit more battle-tested than I feel the Eagles are, and it's hard to bet against Patrick Mahomes.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty much why I'm picking them, because I do agree with everything Nick said, that I really do think the Eagles are the better team on paper. I think they have the advantage at nearly every position, but they do not have the advantage at quarterback.
They don't have the advantage at the most important position.
Exactly.
Quarterback.
And Patrick Mahomes is – the dude's played in the NFL for 6 years, started for 5, and I think he already can be considered
he's already a Hall of Famer at the age of 27.
For sure. I would say that he could be considered as a top 10 of all time in 6 years of playing.
I think he's already top 10 all time. I don't think it's even a question.
Yeah,
honest.
Yeah, so he is like a great of the game of football, and I can't bet against him, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, that's all we got for today. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, please like this video, and we will see you guys in the next one. Have a good rest of your day, and peace.